Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Yak Gadget, for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. Eastport Marina, on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake, for all your lodging, kayaking, and fishing needs. Go to eastport.info. Now let's get this show started.
What's up, guys? You're listening to the final cast on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm Brad,
and I'm Matt. And Brad
Matt.
has a little sticky ball.
That doesn't sound right. If you're not watching that on YouTube, it doesn't sound. It's weird.
It sounds even better.
No, my wife has some play foam at the house, so I'm just been messing with it while we're recording, and it's kind of fun. Brings me back to my childhood.
That unlocked a deep, dark, lost memory for me, because I used to play with that stuff, and I remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I literally did that. I made it in a flat thing, and I was like, that looks like a rice cake, and I ate it. It didn't taste like a rice cake, man. It tasted really bad.
Let's try it. Oh, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, it's not good. It tastes like straight ammonia in your mouth.
That's not good.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, yeah, dude, what's new? Yeah. Hold on. Let's start it off here. What is new in your box? How about that?
New in the box. I've got something new in the box. It's not necessarily a lure. Well, it kind of is. So I'll start off with something small. Megabass screw head.
Those are sweet.
Yeah, this little thing's money, man. I fell in love with it a couple years ago and I stopped throwing it, but perfect little finesse swim bait. And they make one without the propeller on it. So if you want to go like super finessey, you can, but
hold that up to the camera. I want to see the head of it.
I like little propellers.
So it's kind of shaped like that Jigmaster sled head, it looks like.
A little bit, yeah. It's got this groove underneath, so it cuts through a little bit differently. The only plus with the Jigmaster sled head, which is the plus for a lot of them, is it has the screw lock. This just has the single molded wire keeper, which will hold your bait, but if you get short striked, it will rip your bait in half. So
see, those are good for when you're using Z-Man plastics. Z-Man on corkscrews, no bueno.
No, yeah, I don't know why. It's weird that elastic just doesn't want to like screw on. I know they
nuts.
They made that new shaky head worm, and I bought a pack, and I was like, oh, I'll put these on a shaky head, and I've got one of the 6 cents heavier shaky heads. I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw that, and I try to get it on there, and it took me like 45 minutes to get it through one spiral, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm just not doing it.
I did the same thing. I bought some of those finesse worms that they sell.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they look awesome, and I really want to fish them, but like, I want to fish them as a shaky head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I could do a Carolina rig.
But Zoom, like the Zoom trick worms on a shaky head are pretty good. I like those.
Yes, they are. I've got like 15 things of those. The 6 Sense Divine shaky worm is great. It's great because it comes in a bunch of weird colors, and I like them. So just to jump from little tiny screw head to the new reel in the box.
Oh.
Yeah, the XSDC SSXG. Yes, our boy. If you listen to the show, which will come out, on the 20?
It was the show last week. If you're listening to it now, it was the one last week.
Yep, it was the show last week. We talked about with Cameron on there, talked about online buying and stuff, and we went to what I like to call the real plug, YG Japan on eBay. And he's got some crazy deals. Brad, tell him what you got.
I got a Scorpion MLG, man. MGL, my bad.
MGL, yeah. MLG? No.
MLG.
But MGL, yes.
MGL, yeah. That I got to try it after work today. That reel is amazing.
It's funny because I've been trying to get you to like jump into the JDM like overseas reel market for like 2 years now. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it. And then you do it once. And what was your text to me earlier today? Man, I'm going to buy all JDM stuff.
No, I said I want to switch over my reels to MGLs.
Mm-hmm. All MGLs and all JDMs.
Looking at the Metanium MGL next.
Now that is amazing reel, to say the least. And then you need to look at the Bantam MGL, money reel. That's the one I had. We were on the float when I first got it last year, and I let you cast it. It had the jerkbait on it, and it was like throwing it a quarter mile.
Yeah.
That
was sweet.
Yeah, dude. It is. The MGL technology is just a whole nother ball game. That should be, we should talk about that.
I want to try your accents that you got.
Yeah, dude. I want to try it too, because I literally got it yesterday and got home and I was looking at it, and then I was so tired from work. I was like, you know what? It'll be here in the morning, which is the first time I've ever done that. That's how tired I was. And I got home today, went to my storage unit to get the kayak and the motor because I'm going fishing tomorrow, and got home, looked at my keys, still had the storage unit lock on it. So I just left. I drove back real quick. All my hunting stuff and other kayak stuff's in there. Door's wide open. Didn't close the door. I was gone for like 30 minutes. I was like, well, thank God nothing got stolen.
Yeah.
So when I got home, I had enough time to put line on it, reline another one. Last thing I want to say, I am happily now part of the Douglas family. And I'll tell you what, as someone who's been a JDM guy forever, my Megabass rods are pretty much all out of my possession now. Sold them all. These are the best rods I've ever touched in my life. So
that's awesome.
Put that out there. But
we'll have to do another show, especially if we get Fred Contoy on. We can talk about rod design and Douglas. That'd be a fun one.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
anyway, yeah, me and Matt did a float with Justin Marshall this weekend, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then later on the episode, we're going to talk about technique-specific line. So, yeah, let's talk about our trip, man, because we had a pretty good trip.
It was, man. We finally got a little break in the weather here in Ohio. It's back to, 51 degrees outside. So,
it was cold.
Yeah, I wore a sweatshirt today, and I was still a little chilly. So, great. But yeah, dude, we had a break. It was awesome. Drove out to a little ways away, but it was worth it. It was good. My first time on that stretch. Yeah, hour away from me, 45 for you, but it was my first time on that stretch, and it did not disappoint.
Heck yeah. We got into fish like almost immediately, didn't we? Right off the bat.
We did. And if our listeners had listened to the application episode, we got all our fish during the major lunar phase of that day. So,
I was going to tell Jimmy that.
I forgot all about it. I should text
him.
I'll text him after here, but I'll forget. So Jimmy, if you're listening, your app really worked awesome, and we caught all our fish during the major lunar period.
Yeah, and then it kind of like died the rest of the float. I mean, I picked up a few every couple miles, but
yeah, I mean, the rest of the float, it kind of died out. I was talking to Justin about it when we were driving back to get my truck. He caught that one smallie. He caught that during the minor lunar phase, right at the end of it.
Which one?
The one, what was it? Is the pretty much the last good fish of that float, because the rest of the fish we just all caught were dinks, which smallmouth, dink, smallmouth, are worth it, but still, it's the one though right before that, not rapids, but I guess they were rapids, where I almost got spooled by a carp in that eddy.
Oh yeah,
it was like right before that because he was across the way, and yeah, that was another fun experience. Had a giant carp literally take almost all the line down to my mono backer on my Shimano Stratic 3000, and yeah, that was a fun time. And
because he went back out into the current, and you had to kind of let the drag loose or something.
Yeah, I was in an eddy, and I should have known they were carp, but I saw two fish, and I was like, oh my Lord, did I get lucky and find the only two bedding smallmouth? So I threw a little finesse swim bait over there, reeled it back, and it just turned on it immediately. And I was like, oh, that has to be a smallmouth, because carp don't turn on stuff that quick. Oh yeah, it was carp, because he just grabbed it, he jumped a little bit, I just saw brown and orange, and then he just took off like he was running from the cops. Dude, it was, I mean, I was sitting there like kind of stunned when he jumped, because when I first set the hook, I was like, yeah, I mean, he gutted it. Like, I was like, this is a smallmouth. He hit that so hard. Set the hook, and then I saw it jump, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And my kayak kept going to the current, and I was like, oh no. So I loosened my drag real quick, backed up, and the time I got back to the bank, I looked down at my reel, and I saw monofilament as my backer, and I was like, oh no. Tighten my drag up, started reeling into it, and it's still pulling drag. My drag's all the way tight, and I was like, you know what, man? I'm not risking it. So I just put my rod straight and just grabbed my spool and just held it, and all I feel is, and I was like, "Yep, he's gone." So
yeah, it's a carp. Who cares?
yeah, I didn't care at all. Like it was fun for like 8 seconds, and then I was like, "All right, I'm done."
Yeah, that was the same stretch I caught a 28-inch carp on chatterbait in the middle of the river last year.
It's probably the same carp dude because he just like he's getting revenge. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna eat everything and break them all off," because he was like ferocious.
Yeah, it's so weird though. Like chucking a chatterbait, and that thing just nails it. I was like, "This is so weird."
What I find weird is when I'm chucking a chatterbait or a spinnerbait or a crankbait, and I'm nowhere near the bottom, and a catfish comes up and like destroys it. That's that's weird to me. Like that's just being a predator fish out of nowhere and swimming at crazy speeds to catch up to my chatterbait.
Yeah,
and I hate it because they're just gross when they get to. But it's not about it. So
yeah, river catfish are different. They'll sit in riffles and stuff with smallmouth and feed up on bait and crap. It's weird.
Yeah, and smallmouth. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, if they're big enough.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, I mean, you weren't wrong. We caught all those. The majority of our really good fish, like right at the beginning of the trip.
I mean,
and
heck,
man,
you caught how many 217s? Justin caught a 17, I think, and then I caught a 20, and that was all within like 30 minutes.
Yeah, not able to say I caught that first 17 or 3/4 within maybe 5 minutes of actually casting that spinnerbait, and he hit it great, pinned it awesome, and when it came out, all three of us were like, "Oh, that's a huge fish!" Like having a Mike Iaconelli moment with every fish, and I was like, "Dude, it's." And Justin's looking at me, he's like, "That's every bit of 18 1/4," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking 18 1/2," and then Brad's like, "It might be 19." I put it on the board, it's 17 3/4. I was like, "What the heck, dude?" But it was just fat. It was just a fat
huge
fish.
Yeah,
dude, it was. I mean, but you're 20. Like I was across, you had moved, and I was across, and I just see you pull this monster out of the water, and I was like, "Oh God!" I was like, "That's every bit of a 20."
You didn't believe me. You didn't believe it was a 20 until I showed you the picture, though. You're like, 20, really? Did you?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's because when we go out with Brad and he's fishing and we lose sight of him for 5 seconds, he's like, "Yeah, I caught 8 fish," and he's screaming and hollering, and we can't hear it or we can't see him. We're like, "Oh, he's just catching all the fish." And we get there, and he's like, "Yeah, I caught a 20." Yeah, no, okay, well, whatever.
I really did this time.
Yeah, this
awesome.
time. You ever hear the story about the boy who cried wolf?
Yeah. That was awesome though. I caught that thing in fast moving water, like up in the white, I don't know, the white turbulent water. I was throwing a big Joshy. He just nailed it.
Yeah. Well, I caught the second fish, caught it in the same spot with another big Joshy throwing it up there, and because you told me, oh yeah, he was sitting down in the white stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. So I threw it up and let it trickle down, and the second it trickled down, that second 17-inch fish just destroyed it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh Lord, and I set it, and it was perfect. Another great hook set, loved it. Douglas, way to go again, because I almost missed it. Like I felt it, and I was like, oh, it's just the water. And we'd lost, like I'd lost 3 ball head jigs by that point. You'd lost like 2 spinner baits and 2 sled heads.
Because I had to keep borrowing Justin's. I left. I was not prepared for this freaking trip, dude. I left everything at home. Left all my little tubes from my Calco's battle box, and so I had to borrow jig heads from Justin. Luckily, he had some jig masters in there because I love those.
Yeah, I'm expecting to get mine, but yeah, man, it was a great trip. It was awesome. Other than I wore shorts like a novice, and my legs are lobsters.
They still lobster?
Oh, dude, they're not. I mean, they're not great. I mean, I don't know if you can. They're kind of tanning up, but like it still hurts to like touch. So
tender.
Yeah, it's not a good time. So
yeah, that's why I wear those quick dry wading pants.
I already bought some. It's fine.
We did an episode about that. If you guys go back, you can look up like sun protection or whatever. Whole episode about it. It's pretty cool.
Which is a great episode, so you don't turn out like me and can't walk the next day and have boils on your legs as you're finishing the float. So yeah, it's not a great time. Yeah. Really not fun. Yeah. So
well, cool. Yeah, good trip. Let's get into the technique specific line, because this is something I've never gotten into. I mean, I've used Sunline Sniper FC and stuff like that. But where do you want to start
Yeah.
with the technique specific line?
We can start with flipping, just for the simple fact that everyone will flip whether they need to or not. Flipping is just a fun technique to throw because you're making accurate cast, you're throwing up into cover. But a lot of times you're throwing, traditionally it's always been braid, right? So you're throwing braid up into cover, and then you think you have a fish, and you set your Texas rig or your punch rig or whatever with 60-pound braid on into a log, and then you're cutting your braid because you're trying to de-earth the log, because 60-pound braid just won't ever break. So we can start, and I'm a big Sunline dude. There are a few things that will transfer here and there, but Sunline FC flipping, or flipping FC. This is a fluorocarbon for flipping, which is awesome because while flipping can traditionally be kind of a reaction bite because you're flipping for fish like in beds and stuff like that, but if you're flipping into some cover and a fish can look at it, fluorocarbon is never bad to have, for the simple fact that they're not going to be able to see the line as easy.
Yeah. I was going to mention
debate,
that.
But
I was going to mention that because you said braid before. That's actually kind of like an outdated thing. Nobody's doing it anymore, really.
Yeah, a lot of guys, and I was like the last person to change. I was braid all day long just because I was flipping so much down south, and I was just throwing braid. And I was like, "Oh, you should go to fluorocarbon." I was like, "No, that's stupid. I'm just going to use braid because I was afraid I was going to break fluorocarbon." And yeah, haven't done it yet, especially with this. So this is 18-pound, and what's great about this is this line. When you're flipping, a lot of people you're flipping, and then you're pulling your rod up and you're really watching your line to see if there's the fish is just sucking it in or taking, nibbles at it and stuff. It's almost like a bigger version of a Ned rig sometimes because you're kind of really wanting to focus on that bite. But what's cool about this, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but there's clear. And then if you pull that out, you can kind of see it change to yellow, which looks kind of like this. So I want to say, because there's the line change, which you can kind of see it like back on my line and stuff, the green on
it's green side. On
yep. So what's cool about that is you're still getting the fluorocarbon look and the feel. You want to tie your bait where it's clear, obviously, where you have a little bit of clear line coming up. So like if I was tying this right now, this is all clear that I'm pulling out. You can't, you can see it because it's line, but when you're watching it, you watch those green parts and you can still see your line, which is like awesome because the soft bites and stuff, you can pick it up instantly.
Yeah. It's exactly why I use high vis yellow braid when I'm, on my Ned rig and stuff like that, so I can line watch.
Yep. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. It literally it kind of makes flipping, instead of like you don't always have to pick the rod up to feel the weight of the fish. You can actually watch your line tick or just move a little bit, and you can set the hook that much faster, which when it comes to flipping, that's like a big advantage because sometimes the bass will suck it in and then push it right back out. They'll literally suck in the bait and then they'll flush all the water and your bait will come out. So when you see that little tick, you can set that hook immediately and maybe get a fish that wasn't interested, especially bed fishing, because a lot of times they'll pick lures up, swim 2 feet and then spit it out because they just want it out of the bed. They don't know what it is. They think it's a leaf or a rock or something. They're like, that just doesn't go with the feng shui of my bed, and they'll move it out. So it's the same concept why we use high vis braid on finesse techniques. So,
awesome. How many inches is that green part on that line?
So in this line, let's bring it out.
Because I'm just curious. The reason why I ask is because it seems like you'd be wasting a lot of line if you're trying to tie on. What I mean?
No, I agree with you. So with the green starts right here and ends, I would say, what is that, about maybe 9 inches?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So you'll be wasting 9 inches at a time.
Yes, but no, because that's where that starts. And obviously this line's been cut. But here, that is all fluorocarbon, and that's been cut some. That's all clear fluorocarbon. So your clear is a lot longer. You're only getting...
Well, what I'm saying is if you want to tie onto the clear part, you got to cut off the 9 inches of green, like if that's what's showing at the beginning of the line.
True, yes. But, I mean, you can kind of take care of that when you're lining your reel. I understand where you're coming from. Like now throughout the day, if you break off a lot, like Saturday, for example, if I was throwing this and I was breaking off as much as I have, I'd probably get down to the green and then I'd have to cut some to get back to clear.
Yep.
But when you're first setting the reel up, like with this, when I first set it up, I made sure to spool it up to where I had clear on there, a full clear. I cut it at green, went through my rod, and then tied my knot to where I still had clear left over. So you're starting the day at clear. You can kind of control where it's at. But yeah, I know where you're coming from. So yes, that would be the only drawback, because if not, then you're throwing green fluorocarbon, and depending on the water clarity, they can see that.
Well, if you're fishing the lakes here in Ohio, it's probably not. I mean, you can get away with straight braid in Ohio because we got dirty water here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know guys that throw crankbaits on braid.
Yeah, chatterbaits, anything.
Yeah, just a reaction bait. I know guys who throw jerk baits on braid, which jerk bait. Yeah, to me,
that's weird.
No, it's way too stiff. There's nothing. But jerk baits are either reaction bait. Like right now, I'll throw jerk baits and they'll just eat it because they see it and they're freaking out because they're fish. And then in the winter, they're staring at that bait before they eat it. I don't understand how braid works, but I know guys who throw it with braid and they catch fish all day long. So
yeah, I mean, I used to do straight braid. Big Joshy on their website. They actually recommend using braid with their baits. But then I got away from it. I started using a leader and stuff, and I think I catch more fish.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at. I think I catch more fish. I've also kind of slined down because there's a whole new thing out there that talks about fish don't care what color the line is. They care about diameter, which is why braid is starting to make a little comeback, because braid is so thin. But, to each their own. I like fluorocarbon. I don't want the fish to see a green line unless I'm fishing like super dirty, like frogs all day long. They're not looking at the line. They're hitting a frog. I don't care. But, everything else.
Top water bait.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of gotten away from, I used to use braid on like whopper ploppers and buzz baits. I kind of got away from that just because I felt like I was ripping it out of their mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's why, when we'll get into it on this episode, but that's why I've switched my whole top water line, unless it's a frog, because sometimes I'm setting a hook on a frog fish from 60 yards away. I want to make sure I have the same amount of power at the front of the line and the back of the line. Or
you need it to rip that crap out, like out of pads and heavy grass.
Exactly, pads, heavy grass, and then I'll use braid on poppers, just because I'm getting a straight pop every time. I'm not having to wait for slack and reel up. Like, it's pop, 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 and it works. So, but we'll get into that. So, any other questions about the flipping?
No, that's actually interesting. I didn't know it had different colors. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, which is great.
Well, I do have another question. Yeah. Does it come in like bigger line spools since it has those sections, or is it still 150?
It's 200 yards. So they're 200-yard spools, which is not necessarily standard because, well, I guess it is for Sunline in the U.S.
Yeah.
Sniper comes in 200 yards. Assassin comes in 225. And then 200. They do have an option on their website where you can buy this in 400-yard spools. So you can get a little bit larger, but I think pretty much everyone does that. So, but it's set up pretty good. At the beginning of this line, when you first get out of the box, there's longer fluorocarbon, or longer green, excuse me, because they know you're putting that on the very bottom of the reel.
Yeah.
And then it starts going to more fluorocarbon, less fluorescent, more or less. So
that's cool.
Yeah. But super designed for, like I said, flipping, but it's super abrasive resistance. So it's perfect for flipping around. Like, don't be afraid of flipping this into cover and rocks and stuff like that, which we'll get into another line for that. But this is designed for everything you do with braid in a fluorocarbon setting. So
is it like thicker diameter? How does that?
So you're looking at, like, this is 18 pounds. So it's 360 millimeter to compare to 20-pound sniper. Or not, 18-pound sniper. 18-pound sniper is 380 millimeters. So it's a little bit less diameter, which is weird. I know.
That is weird.
How they explain it, the type of fluorocarbon bonding they're using actually makes it more abrasion resistance. Kind of like like another one we'll talk about is the Seaguar Brazex. This is designed to be thrown around rocks, stuff like that. This is another good flipping opportunity line because you can throw this around rocks. stumps, docks. If you obviously this is 10-pound, but if you, I personally have this for if I'm throwing crankbaits into cover or under docks where I'm rushing up against stuff. This is awesome for abrasion as well. It's the type of fluorocarbon bond it has. It gets super sciencey, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am not that smart of a person, so I just go off what actually happens. And I've thrown this flipping stuff into a tree and brought it back out and then felt my line after I worked it, and there was not a nick in it or anything. It was awesome.
That's crazy. So is that like a Brazex? Is that something that you would use in the river over sniper?
Yeah, and like in the river, I would definitely use like an Brazex, or even because you can get flipping and lighter stuff. The bad drawback for flipping is it doesn't like to cast super great. So like your far cast, it doesn't really want to cast. It looks like you're playing with Rice Krispie treats. Like now that's all I want. Like I want to go buy some Rice Krispie treats. I'd love to make them, but last
I
time
know
I did,
somebody
they all
who
turned
makes them.
like burnt. I know, and they're awesome. I've eaten them before. Your wife's Rice Krispie treats are amazing. But yeah, so this is great for flipping and short pinpoint cast. It's not great for casting, like long stuff, because it likes to have, it doesn't have, I wouldn't say memory. It just likes to get hung up on the guides a little bit. So you'll cut a lot of your cast down. A Brazex, surprisingly, while this is super abrasive resistance, this casts fairly well. I've put smaller crankbaits on this and I have casted them and they cast fine. So I don't know what the difference between them are necessarily, as in why this casts better than this does. The big thing is they both tout, abrasion resistance is crazy. So, yeah.
I've never used the Brazex. Well, let me see. Yeah, I've never used the Brazex. I think the Red Label is probably the only Seaguar product I've used, but I've heard really good stuff about a Brazex and Invisex and stuff.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm a huge Sunline guy, but in my opinion, Invisex has its place. All these spools of Invisex are all 10 pounds or less, and they're all for leaders. That's all. We can kind of just jump into leaders from this, because that's, technique specific line. This technically isn't for leaders, but I use all this for leaders until I found Seaguar Blue Label. Blue Label. So super small spools. They only come in 25-yard spools. Well, they come in bigger, but like $10.99, a little pricey.
For 25 yards.
Yes, super pricey.
Yeah.
But it is one of the best leader materials I've ever used. Now, Sunline makes a great leader, Sunline FC sniper or FC leader, which is kind of just like this. It's still like $12 a spool. It only comes in, I think that comes in 35-yard spools, so you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck. Yeah. But the big plus with this is the combo that they're using for the fluorocarbon has a resin built in, and this is for like this 8-pound leader. I would have no problem fighting a carp on it and actually fighting the carp.
Like without like turning your drag down.
Yeah, without like having to baby it and everything. This stuff is super abrasion resistant, super impact resistant. It's great for throwing Ned rigs. Like my Ned rig rod has this on it. This is only 8 pound. And I have this on my Ned rig rod as a leader because I'll throw it into, you know how it is on the river or even some lakes with, how it was in Dale Hollow. We were throwing Ned rigs off of rock faces and it was rocky all the way down.
Yeah.
And I never worried about my line getting a nick in it or breaking or anything like that. This stuff has been awesome. And
I don't think I've ever seen that stuff on shelves.
It's hard to find. The only place I've ever seen it, a couple Bass Pros down south have had it. The Bass Pro here in Cincy had it, and I don't think they have it anymore. But typically I'll get them on Amazon or I'll get it from Seaguar's website. I've been nursing this one just because I don't want to order another one, to be honest with you. I've been nursing this one for a hot minute, but the spool is actually just
that
right in there.
That should last you forever anyway. 25 yards is how many feet? 70 something feet. And if you use a 6-foot leader every time, that's going to last you a while.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, I bought this last year and I'm probably down to, it's super clear. So that's another plus of it. I've got every bit of 4 or 5 liters left in it if I really wanted to. Yeah. So Like it goes a long way because a lot of people think leader line $12. Oh, I'm only get 25 yards. Yeah, but you're not spooling a reel up with it. You're only putting 4 to 8 feet on max at one time.
Yep.
So
that's how I look at it. I mean, after I spool up my reels, I use Red Label. Well, right now I've used FC Sniper and stuff too, but I'll use the leftover stuff on the reel or on the spool for leader material.
yeah, I was doing that for a long time. The only issue is with actual leader lines, they tend to be a little bit thinner. So you get a little bit better feel, especially going from a leader line to a braid. Your braid's on there, so you feel everything and you can see the bite. So putting like if you were throwing 30-pound braid, which is I throw 20 to 30 pound as a backer. If I'm throwing like 12-pound sniper on that thicker line, I might lose a little feel. I'm not saying you're going to lose all of it, but you might lose some. That's why I will always go. Like I've gotten so meticulous about my Alberto knots that I can do a 30-pound braid to like an 8-pound leader, which shouldn't be possible because the 8-pound's so much thinner. But a little bit of Alberto in, a little bit extra twists, and a little bit of fish glue, and it works great.
Fish glue?
No, I'm not joking, man. That stuff that you can buy, it's like $3 at the tackle shop.
Huh.
Let's see, do I have?
That's interesting.
Some in here. But it's like $3 at the tackle shop, and it comes with a little paintbrush, and I put it on my Alberto knots. Now I test them first to make sure I'm not just gluing a bad knot, and they hold fine. And then I throw some fat fish glue on it. Bing, bam, boom. It's done. That stuff will hold forever to where, like, I've had braid break before that knot will break with the fish glue on it. Yeah. I broke it at tip trying to break line. Like and it just still wouldn't break. Like it broke the tip and the line's still on. So like that fish glue is money. And you can use it to repair plastics and everything. Whole nother show. We can talk about that another time, but it's money. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. I never even thought about doing that. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I'm super finicky about how I do stuff. So if I can find something that's going to make something last longer to where I don't have to go through a $12 25-yard spool as quick, I will do it.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that you don't really want to spend money on. You know what I mean? Like it's cool buying lures and stuff, but line, you're just like, I don't want to buy that.
Oh, I mean, I've got an 8-foot table full of lures. Like I can count 6 fire crawl jackhammers right now, and I love buying those every time.
Yeah.
I've got mag draft sitting here, gillies, bee-wall crawls. I've got everything, and these are all happy. I love buying these. When I buy line, I get mad. Like I'm like, this is stupid. Like and
can't even do what we do without line either.
Exactly. It's a fundamental like I'll buy a rod all day long. I'll buy reels. Like, did I need this reel? No. Do I have 6 reels sitting over there and aren't getting used? Yes. But this is fun. When I go buy line, I'm like, dude, this is dumb. I don't want to buy line. Like, but you can't just buy the cheapest stuff for everything because
Berkeley Vanish.
Yeah, dude. Like Berkeley, I tell you what, on reaction base, not terrible. The knot strength sucks, so make sure you get some fisherman's glue or some hot glue or something weird. I don't know. Just make sure your knot doesn't come out. But I mean, not the worst thing in the world. It's better than like trilene or don't get me started on
fluorocarbon.
I've got a buddy who fishes nothing but stren. He's like, it's the best line ever, and then he wonders why like his line breaks halfway into it, like a hook set or something. I was like, yeah, it's because you're throwing stren, man. But you know, it is what it is. A little off topic.
I've used stren fluorocarbon before. I wasn't impressed with it.
Yeah, I've used it too. It casts really. The only reason I bought this stuff at the very beginning, which is line butter, which is a line conditioner. The only reason I bought this is because I had stren on a reel, and I was like, I just spooled this whole reel up. I'm not just gonna despool it. So I would spray this on like 8 times a day, just to keep the memory out of it and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know when you have a good line when it ties really smooth. That's when I look at fluorocarbon, that's the first thing I look at. If it ties on smooth, where you don't have to wet the line and it just goes whoosh, silky smooth, it's gonna be a good line.
Oh yeah, all day long. That's an easy check mark. If that does that, the line's got to be somewhat decent. Like it'll do the job for me. But
snipers like that, man. That stuff ties so well.
It ties super smooth, and the knots are ridiculously tough.
Yeah.
Like,
Which red label is tough, but it doesn't tie like Sniper does.
yeah, so
It's not as slick.
Red Label is one of those lines that is super, like, it's great because it's inexpensive and it's a tough line. Like, you can throw that in stick pile, and the line itself isn't gonna like be terrible. It's not as abrasive resistance as like a Brazex or something, but it'll get the job done. But it doesn't like friction at all. Like when you're tying a knot or anything. Like I've tied knots with Red Label because that's all I used for a long time because it was cheap and it did the job. But you could feel the line after, like, I always check the knot right above the knot. Yeah, dude. And it's frayed or it's got a little nick in it. And then now my confidence is like, oh, if I said, look on this fish, I'm just going to break it right at that fray.
Yep.
So
I've actually done that too. It's kind of funny.
And it's terrible. So I had to cut it off, retie, and I just got so annoyed doing that I just said, screw it. I'm just going to start buying nicer line.
Spit on it before you cinch it down. That's what I do.
I'm about to say, I put the line in my mouth and I just swished it around a little bit. And which for me, I have to be careful.
To do, though.
I know, but for me, I got to be careful because I'll get a piece of dip in my line, and then I'm worried about that's going to ruin it. So, like, I have to start over again. Like, it's just, it's the price we pay.
Yeah, that's funny. I was fishing up north with Aaron Steiger, and me and him was side by side, and I was stuck in I couldn't get my lure run done. I'm just sitting here trying to break the line. He's like, "Dude, what are you using?" I was like, 12-pound. Red Label. He's like, that is some strong stuff. I'm like,
like, that's the thing. Like, Red Label's super strong. Like, it feels 12-pound feels like 18-pound. Like, it's strong as all get out. But I don't know, man. I got tired of retying. I got tired of finding frays, and it just bugged me. So
it's funny. Funny you mentioned that. Like, it does. 12-pound Red Label does not feel like 12-pound Sniper or even the 12-pound line fishing line I'm using. LYN.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
You guys should check that out. Jig Masters has it on their website. I gave it a try today. That stuff ties just like Sniper does, and it is very smooth casting. Very smooth casting line. I like it.
I'm super pumped to try that because the bad thing with Sunline is they went up in price a good bit. So if I keep the obsession going, I'm gonna have to work a couple extra hours to be able to afford it, which sucks because that's all I use. I mean, I'm full of Sunline back here, but I'm gonna run out eventually.
You can always go to American Legacy Fishing. Remember, they got that sale.
You could, yeah, and they do have that sale, and I haven't bought any, and now I'm afraid I've probably missed it, which is unfortunate, but whatever. There'll be more sales. But yeah, it doesn't cast as well. Red Label, in my opinion, just doesn't cast as well. It likes to get hung up on your guides a little bit more. And it frays just too quick. That's just me. Everyone's different. Everyone, some guys who are fishing nothing but deep stuff with no obstructions around, they probably love it because it doesn't.
I agree.
Great, but
I've used it for the last 2 years now, and I agree with you.
Yeah,
but I'm cheap, so $14.99 for a box of fluoro. I'm like, yep, that'll do.
We're getting ready to beat you on the cheap stuff because you've got introduced to some JDM reels.
Well, man, if I'm gonna like the line fishing line, I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah, I want to.
They got good prices.
I'm pumped to try that too because that's. I mean, what is it for a 150 yard spool? It's like $11, maybe $12.
I'm gonna go to their website right now because I don't know how much. Cody actually sent that spool to me. I didn't pay for it because I was like, you know what? It's not on your website. I want to try it. He's like, I'll just send it to you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I'll let you do that. So they got the clear fluoro line fishing line, 200 yards for $12.99.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy.
Deal.
Yeah, I mean you can get 1,000 yards of 12-pound for $47 because it's on sale right now. That's insane. And it's like
diameter. Steps above red label. And it's cheaper.
I can imagine, and it's the same diameter as 12-pound Sniper. So I mean, it's gonna cast really well. Ooh.
What's up?
It might be changing. Might be changing from the old Sunline.
I'll let you try it first before.
Oh yeah, obviously I'm not going to buy a 1,000-yard spool yet, because if I like it too much, I'm just going to buy a 1,000-yard spool in like every size I can.
Yeah.
So
Heck yeah.
that's the joy of this spooling machine I got, man. Makes life super easy.
That's what the question I was going to ask you earlier. Who makes that blue braided line that I've been seeing on Shimano reels?
Blue braided line. There's a couple. So Power Pro has a blue. Who has it? They have that like seafoam blue, and then they have a darker blue. There's a couple companies who make like salt.
Power
The big
Pro.
thing with Shimano, with all their adverts and whatnot, a lot of them are geared toward saltwater fishing. So there's a lot of companies that make braid for saltwater that's blue, because it matches the ocean, because it's blue. I'm sure that's not like the technical reason why, but that's why I believe it's blue, is because the water in the ocean's blue. So
That's kind of weird.
And blue looks better on adverts. That's probably mostly what it is too. Blue looks good. So.
Shimano Pitbull.
Shimano what?
There's a line called Shimano Pitbull.
It's new to me. I might have to try that.
Yeah, it showed up when I typed in Shimano blue braided line. So yeah, Yozuri. I think that's who. I talked to somebody. They said Yozuri was the blue braided line they were using.
It could be too. Yeah. Oh, this Pitbull's JDM stuff. Ooh, another thing I got to try now. But yeah, man, it's where are we at? Let's go to another technique. Cranking.
Do the cranking, yeah.
Yeah. So Sunline makes a cranking FC, which is just a fluorocarbon. And a lot of people say, oh, well, what's the difference from just FC Sniper, which is also a fluorocarbon? So the big difference is this isn't a coated fluorocarbon like you see with like Fluoro Clear from P-Line or I think it's P-Line, Fluoro Clear, which is
line.
It's a copolymer. This is actually a full fluorocarbon. It doesn't float, so it's full fluorocarbon, but it has stretch, and it has stretch without the line getting have too much memory in it. If I can get it off there. So it's just regular fluorocarbon, but it's got some bounce to it, and that line still stays nice and smooth, but it has bounce to it, which is awesome when you're throwing crankbaits that have treble hooks on them, which they all do.
We were just talking about that. Remember, because I was telling you how I use mono on my crankbaits and stuff.
Yep. So
because I like the stretch.
You like the stretch, and a lot of people for a long time people are wanting to use for crankbaits and whatnot. They're using medium rod with a moderate tip because it gives them a little bit more forgiveness, a little bit more play. Yep. So now with this line, you actually don't need to use, and I've tested it. I've used this on a crankbait stick my crankbait stick used to be a medium extra fast, and I put this on there and I had plenty of play because the line was so forgiving. I had a fast enough tip to where I could get that hook set, but the line stretched just enough to where it still pinned that fish, which is awesome.
That's interesting. I wonder what they do to make it have stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they say it's a P-ion technology, which makes the line slicker, so better casting.
Yep.
And then in the process of making the fluorocarbon, when they're bonding, because fluorocarbon is a bunch of molecules that are actually bound together. It's really, if you really look at the science of fluorocarbon, it's pretty cool because it's not like fibers like Braid or even monofilament. It's a fiber technically. It has a single fiber in the inside. Fluorocarbon are molecules that are bound together that make the line. So when they're doing that bonding process, they make it to where it's a little bit stretchier, which adds for reaction baits. I will say, they say you can use it for jerks. I don't like it for jerks. It's got too much stretch for jerk baits, in my opinion. Same reason why I like throwing jerk baits on. Like when I'm working the jerk bait, the line wants to hang up a little bit, and I'm not getting the full hunting pattern of jerk bait. But for crankbaits and stuff you're reeling back, even chatterbaits, it's fantastic for chatterbaits too, because it gives you a second to catch up to that fish and really set the hook in.
Yeah.
So awesome stuff. Awesome stuff.
That might be something I have to look into. I'm using a moderate rod right now though, and I pair that with 8-pound trilene XT mono.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of switch back and forth. I have a crankbait stick is set up with that. And I have a crankbait stick, like, especially when I'm going to the river, I have a crankbait stick that's a medium fast with mono on it. But it's because I also two-purpose that rod as a topwater rod too. So I can use it. My line will still float if I want it to. And on the river, you're not making bomb casts or anything like that. Like when I go to lakes or reservoirs or anything, I'll use the Sunline crank. So I can really bomb the cast out there and actually make longer casts, and the line will sink, get my bait a little bit lower in the water column. So
yeah, that's it. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's crazy how they're making these lines, because Sunline's big on making technique specific lines. They have a whole line of them that, you know, like Seaguar has a Brazex and abrazx and Red Label and, you know, Tatsu, but they're all basically fluorocarbons. They're not technique specific fluorocarbons. Sunline makes a lot of technique specific fluorocarbon lines. Like for instance, if you're doing a lot more bomb casts and you don't want the fish to see it, you have Sunline Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
So Sunline Assassin, they all these Sunline lines have the P-ion technology is what they call it, and that helps for if the line is super slick, which is why you're tying your knot super. They just cinch down. It casts so much better than your average line will. But with this, the line is a little bit slicker for these. So when you continually cast it, that's why this stays so great at casting, because the line's slicker. So it's not picking up friction. It's not picking up water on the line or anything like that. You're actually just casting the line every time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where this comes in. And then you have crank, and then you have flipping. They have a top water line. So
Cam gave me a spool of that Assassin when we were down at Dale Hollow. I tied it on. I can't. It feels a little different than Sniper.
Yeah, it will a little bit. It tends to be like, for instance,
it's like a cloudier look too. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah. I mean, I would definitely say Assassin is for your reaction baits. You're not wanting to use it for finessey stuff. That's where if you're just wanting to use, like, Sniper is perfect for that because it's super clear. Assassin's designed for that, which you would think Sniper and Assassin, they would switch the names. Assassin would be clearer because it's an Assassin, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a little bit thicker of a line, so it's better for casting, and it has better abrazx, or it has better abrasion technology in it. So it's kind of on that same par as abrazx. When it comes to resistance to structure and whatnot. But this will overall, like if you put this on a rod and throw the same lure and put Sniper on a rod, put it on the same lure and cast it all day, you'll find that Sniper will cast better at the end of the day still, just because it's not picking up stuff in the water as much. During when we get all the little floaties in the river, I'll throw nothing but Assassin because they will fall off their line. It's awesome.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Cottonwood and whatnot.
Yeah, I hate that stuff. It's into May, about the time of the year.
I'm about to say we're getting ready to get it and hate our lives, but
yeah.
So moving on. You have anything left on the crank stuff?
No. Well, compare the stretch to mono. Like it's not as much stretch as mono.
No,
right?
It's not as much stretch as mono. Mono's known for being stretchy, being super forgiving. This is a little bit stiffer than mono, but still gives you enough stress to really pin treble bait fish, which is nice.
Gotcha.
So, top water, we can go into that, and we can just, before we jump into the other things, we can stay on Sunline. So this is a JDM product. It's called Fine Float. Fine Float. It's I wouldn't say a copolymer. I would tell you exactly what it is, but it's all in Japanese. And as much as I love them, I'm not a Japanese guy. But it's kind of, I'm looking at it. They still has the P-ion technology. So again, it likes to cast forever. It's super slick. The big plus with this is how they've designed the bond in it. Is this has a 40% better chance of floating for longer periods of times without getting, too stretchy, because mono gets super stretchy over time to where it's got so much stretch, especially with spinning rods or reels. Mm-hmm. You'll find that you'll get wind knots because mono stretched out over time, things like that. This is designed to eliminate that.
What is that called again? Float?
Fine Float 2. I've got it pulled up, the Sigline Fine Float 2. And yeah, I was about to say. So this stuff is awesome. And another plus with it is it's designed to throw super light rigs. So if you're wanting to throw, like, I'll use this for top water because it's a clear, or not clear, it's a yellow. It's not braid. It's got a little bit of stretch to it still, but it's yellow. So I can kind of see a little bit better, especially for those early morning conditions. And I haven't even opened this one yet. I've got my open one back there, but that's okay. I don't feel like searching for it, to be honest with you. So it's that clear stuff, or not clear, yellow, but it's got a little bit of stretch, but it has still less stretch than what monofilament will have, which is what I like, especially, you know, because this is considered a mono, which I'm not a huge mono fan unless I'm throwing top water now with this stuff. Originally it was nothing but the other option, which is braid. Everyone's been throwing braid for a long time. I'm not a huge fan of throwing braid anymore on top water because I feel like I jerk the fish away too quick.
Yep, that's what I said.
Kind of like what you said. So I've switched to this stuff, and this has been awesome. I'm a big fan of it. I've also started to play with, because this stuff's hard to get. That's the only bad thing with this, is it's a JDM product. You have to order it. Very few shops in the U.S. will carry it. I think
Hooked Up Tackle.
I think Hookup's one of the only shops that like carried online where you can order. That's like you can also go buy it locally. Like, you're not going to find this in a Dick's. You're not going to find it in a Bass Pro or Cabela's, or even your small mom and pops. You're not going to find this stuff in there. So I like using this a lot, but I'm trying to find a more domestic version that I can buy. And that's kind of led me, now this is super heavyweight, but it's kind of led me to P-Line Topwater. So this stuff is a copolymer, but it floats as a copolymer, but when you throw it out, it actually disappears fairly well. Not a ton of stretch, really stiff, which is nice for topwater walking baits and poppers, stuff like that. So
we actually had a show online where we had a couple of the hosts come on before. Brian talked about copolymer. He was using Fluoroclear, and all it is copolymer. All it is a monoline with a fluorocarbon coating.
Yep, that's all it is. It's not.
Is that what the top water is?
Yep. So top water is the same thing. I'm not a fan of P-Line. It falls into my general thinking of it's made in Japan, so I'm a big fan of it. But with most of the other stuff, I'm still, been Sunline. They have some fluorocarbons that are really nice, and Fluoroclear. I'm not a huge copolymer fan either, because I believe, like, you're getting Fluoroclear. It's like you said, it's monofilament with a fluorocarbon coating. I can still see it when I throw it really well. Like, it doesn't disappear like Sniper or, Crank or anything. It doesn't disappear super quick. It still has the mono stretchy, in my opinion. Now, this is one that I found that doesn't. It's super stiff for a copolymer. It's almost as stiff, if not as a little bit less. It's almost as stiff as braid, in my opinion, which is awesome. Now, this is super heavy stuff. I got some 12-pound back there, but this is 25-pound. I've been tempting myself. I've been throwing frogs with it. And I'm in Ohio, so I don't catch many frogfish. But last year, I caught one frogfish with this on it. And I didn't have it stretched a little bit at the frog. I had to retie because I stretched a good bit. But that was a heavy hook set at distance. And it still pinned the fish. It got the hooks in there, so it was strong enough to get it in the hooks in there. And then I'm thinking it stretched in the fight because the fish fought back into some heavy crap and I had to pull them out. But after that, I'd have no problem throwing that and worrying about the line breaking. Maybe stretching, but not breaking, which is awesome for a clear topwater.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would want to go because all my rods are multi-use. So the same rod I use for crankbaits, I'll use for the whopper plopper, or I don't know, sometimes a Rico, I guess. I don't know which line I would want to go with in that situation. Cranking,
yeah, I mean, it kind of, that's the only drawback for me. Like, that's why on the river, I don't use a copolymer. I still use just a straight mono, and on the river, I use the Suffix. This is the best mono that I've found, other than that the Sunline Float 2 Suffix Pro Mix, which is a copolymer, but it's, how do I say it? It's a copolymer that acts more like a fluorocarbon, and I'm not saying as in it disappears well. It casts like a fluorocarbon does.
Yeah.
Which is super smooth. It's got good knot strength. I've never had much issue with this. And it has low stretch. So I'll throw this on the multi-use rod, but it's mostly, again, I mean, it casts well, almost as good as fluorocarbon, but I'm still not making bomb casts with this. It's a river line. That's all I use it for. And it's cheap. So if I have to go through it, I don't really care.
Yeah, copolymer is pretty cheap. You can get I know the floor clear stuff, you can get like 600 yards for $15 or something.
Yeah, it's super cheap. And it for certain applications, it would probably work great. Like certain type of fishing applications, you can get heavier floor clear and probably use it for, I could see definitely for like a heavier stuff for catfish and things like that. I could definitely see that being worth it. 600 yards, $15, great. But for me, the only time that gets put on is, like I said, I use it for that one rod when I'm not using float, which I'm getting down. I only have 2 spools of this left, so I'm trying to make this last a little bit longer. And right now I'm switching between the two, and that has been my like river crank and topwater dual purpose rod, just because it's cheap. It casts well enough to make 10 or 15 yard cast upstream to swing a crankbait back to me and works. So
I'm surprised you don't have, with all the reels you have, I'm surprised you don't have some of them spooled up already and just switch in and out on rods.
Yeah, I mean just to prove it, these reels have been sitting here for probably, I don't know, a little bit, and they got respooled 3 or 4 days ago. So this is, yeah, that's 65-pound braid, which is just in case I need to like yank someone's foundation out of their house. And then that's 10-pound sniper, and that's the this is like the backup crankbait rod or reel, and it's a backup. I've got this one is, where'd it go? This is an SLX MGL, which is a 70 size. This is a backup flipping setup. This has that 18-pound flipping fluorocarbon on it. It's 8-2. I mean, these just sit spooled, and like when we were at Dale Hollow, I opened my box and I had like 4 reels that were spooled up, and it's literally, if I'm on the water and a reel breaks,
yeah,
I'm not like SOL and down a rod now. I can just pop another reel on and either fix the other one, or you know what I mean. So I have options. So
that's a good idea. I'm too poor to have those options.
Well, these are all been acquired over time. I mean, I've got an old Lew's BB1 sitting over there that's got line on it, and it hasn't been used in 3 years, but it gets new line every year and gets cleaned every year, even though it hasn't been used. It's a super backup.
Yeah.
But reels, I mean, a little bit of advice for everyone out there. You can sell rods and get new rods. Keep reels if you can, for the simple fact that there'll always be a day when a reel breaks, and you'll have a reel that you can just swap it in, that you've used, you like, it works out great for you. Don't sell reels. You can sell rods because you can get rods pretty quick. But
yep.
So,
you got any other things you want to hit?
I kind of hit him. I had a whole thing for a Brazex, but I kind of did that when I was going into the Sunline flipping.
Yeah, I was going to say you kind of hit it already.
I mean, there's different lines for different applications. One line I didn't hit that probably a lot of people use is abrazx. Abrazx is great for super finessey applications. So, like, this is 6-pound. I've used this for Ned rigs as leader, which I said all my leader stuff is all I typically will use abrazx. If I like take it when I go out on the river, I'll take a spool of abrazx just because I have plenty of leader line. Yep. Sunday or Saturday when we went, I forgot it, so I had to use some adjustments. Justin was like the tackle store on Saturday.
He was, man.
I know, dude. He was super prepared, and I was not, and you were not. But this stuff's great because while I love Sniper, I think it's awesome. I think it does everything great. This disappears in the water better. So super finessey applications, I like using abrazx because it does something a little bit better. I was really big. That's why I have so much of Brazex back there before I found the flipping from Sunline. This was my go-to if I'm pitching and flipping in heavy crap or throwing a chatterbait and heavier stuff. A Brazex where it's at, because this line will take a beating It's great for reaction baits. This is kind of gone to the back burner because I got flipping for some stuff, but this is still a good line if you're throwing crankbaits or moving baits like lipless. People love throwing lipless in a crap and grass. This is great for that because this line's not going to get cut up from that grass or from those stumps, things like that. So, it's kind of finding the line that works for you and then expanding off that line. So
you need a line sponsor, man.
Yeah, be awesome. Sunline, hit your boy up. But yeah, I mean that'd be great because I have so much. But at the same time, line like I said earlier, Douglas have changed my mind on rods of how I've thought about rods forever. Shimano has always been. I've used almost every reel out there. Like I said, I have an Abu Rocket over there. I got a favorite reel just because I want to try it out. Not a fan. I've got a Lose BB1 that was awesome. Not a fan of the new stuff, but that was a great raw reel. But I've never had any Shimano reel I bought that I didn't like. All about Shimano. But line is what I tell everybody. I don't like one particular line for everything. Everything has a different purpose.
Yeah.
They make all this stuff now. It's not like it was back in the day. Like when we were growing up, Trilene was king because it was cheap. It worked for everything. And it still can. I know guys who throw nothing but Trilene. It works for everything. But we have the technology to where they're making all these different fluorocarbons to do different things and the different braids. And, you have Power Pro like Slick V2. This isn't regular Power Pro. This stuff casts way better comparatively. It's a little bit thinner. So if you're wanting to be that guy who's throwing 20-pound Power Pro for cranks, you can, and it'll cast extremely well. So it's kind of it's one of those markets, kind of like the JDM market. You go down and there's lines for everything. Yeah. Everyone has their own opinion of why this is better and why this sucks. And it's like I said, it's finding the line that works for you and expanding off that to find lines that work for certain applications where others don't as well.
So final thing, what do you say to somebody who's on the fence of having technique specific line and thinking that it's just a money grab?
I will always tell people same thing I told a certain person that we fish with all the time. The same thing I told him. Try it first. If you don't see a difference, then there's no reason for you to keep buying it because it's the same price. All these technique specific lines will differ between 50 cents to $1 more or less.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going out of your way. Try it first. At worst case, if you say I see no difference, then it's not like you're wasting a spool because it's the same as the line you're already using. But a lot of times people, when they've done it, I've got 4 or 5 of my buddies who I said that, get some crank, throw it on your crank stick and see how you like it. And this is all they buy now for cranking. They won't buy anything else. I got a buddy who moved up back to home to Michigan. No one sells this. He orders it every 2 months to get new line. It can be one of those where people think, oh, it's a gimmick, it's a money grab. And believe me, the fishing industry is full of it. But when it comes to line-specific lines, at least from Sunline, there's other companies who make technique-specific stuff that I've never tried, so I can't attest to that. But the Sunline technique-specific stuff does exactly how they say it will. I've never had any issue, and it's improved that technique that I'm fishing. So I definitely say give it a try, see if you like it. If you don't, go back to what you're using. But I think you're going to like it, and you're going to go from there, stay with them from then on. So
good stuff, man.
So let's get your final thoughts on line LYN because you've used it. And you've used it not very much, but a little bit.
Yeah, dude. I went out today after work. I spooled it up yesterday when I got my new reel. Spools up awesome. It feels nice coming out of the box. My first impression, I told you my first impression and taking it out of the box, I was like, this stuff looks like quality line. It feels like quality line. It kind of reminded me of Sunline. And then spooled it up, got out after work for about an hour today and, made 100 casts or so or whatever. And man, it casts smooth. It looks great. I mean, it's not cloudy looking like I'd said Assassin was. It ties awesome. I didn't have any issues of breaking off or anything. So
did you see a cast distance wise difference between line and like what you're using Red Label?
Well, I'm gonna say yeah, because I think it was more the reel I was using, because the MGL seems to cast a lot further than my other reels.
Yeah, but what line do you have on your other reels?
Red Label.
So maybe that's your difference right there. Because like you always tell me, oh, does the MGL, are those just as good as DCs? And I say, yeah, they keep up just as well.
I like the MGL better than my DCs.
Probably because I was like that when I first got them too. I was super traditional, and I was like, I don't like a zing in my ear. And then I've got
I like the sound. It's just like the feel of the MGL. I can't explain it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can, as someone who has a Bantam MGL, the Metanium DC has an MGL spool. Even my SLX MGL, they do tend to cast extremely smooth because the spool's so light. Which pin that down, because that's a show we need to talk about.
What's that?
Real technology. Because the Shimano market or not Shimano market, but Shimano and Daiwa and all these companies are making some crazy stuff in their reels.
Yeah, they are.
That we need to go over. So
we need to have somebody on for that.
I agree. If anyone has the plug for Shimano or Daiwa or somebody to talk about their reels, give us a holler.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I don't even know who we'll have to do some homework. But anyway, fishing line, dude. Fishing line. It's kind of hard to say it because it's just weird. LYN fishing line.
Yeah, check it out at jigmasters.com. He's got plenty of stock of it.
But yeah, so far, first impressions, I'm digging it. So, I said,
dope,
ties
dude.
real smooth.
I'm excited to try it. I haven't really had a new line to really try other than that P-line topwater stuff, so I'm pumped to try it. So,
heck yeah, I'll have to let you tie something with it too.
Get that sunline feel.
Yep.
All right. Well, I've got nothing else. Brad, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. I'm tired.
Me too. It's been a long day. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week on the final cast.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You could support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.